Alright guys, welcome to biology test review. So this is your last test review, your last week of school. You're doing it. Great job. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. I just want to say I will be having a little, I'm calling it a class party. And it's just going to be a video. It's not going to be anything that you have to show up to or anything like that, but it's just a little tribute video. I know that there's so many things. One, you have a Zoom test for me this week on Wednesday, and I know you have so many things going on, so many Zoom calls and tests and end of the year stuff that I don't want to add another Zoom to your schedule that's not mandatory, which your test is mandatory, so be sure to show up for that on Wednesday at 11. So I'm going to post a little class party video for you guys. It'll be really short and just kind of telling you what I love specifically about your class and all of that good stuff. So be sure that you watch that, and I will post that later on this week. But for now, we're going to go through our test review. Remember to show up via Zoom for your test. Show up, show up, show up. We're all really, really busy for this last week, so I don't want anybody missing this test. So show up, all right? Okay, so let's go ahead and remember, with these test reviews, I'm just hitting the highlights. I'm just talking about terms. I'm not going into definitions of things because I am doing this test review with the assumption that you have been keeping up with the lecture videos and you've been taking good notes. If that is not the case, then I encourage you need to get on it and you need to do it, okay? Because otherwise you're going to be lost for this test. I know that for some of you, this is really easy information because some of y'all really excel when it comes to memorization, and this is a lot of memorization. But some of y'all might struggle a little bit with memorization, and that's okay. Our brains just work differently. But if you know that these past couple of tests have been a challenge for you, be sure that you are listening fully to the lectures and that you're actually taking notes. And when you go through this video, pull out those notes and highlight what it is that I talk about specifically. This test review is not going to be the only thing that's on your test. Remember, everything that we've discussed is fair game. But I just want to be sure that we hit the highlights of things. But if I, give you a definition like contour feathers, I'm not going to spend this test review discussing what contour feathers are because I've already done that in the lecture videos. You know what I'm saying? So just be aware of that. Make sure that you're watching those. Make sure you've taken good notes. And if you have any questions, be sure that you ask me. So go ahead and take out your notes. So this test is only on endothermic vertebrates, which means it's only on birds and mammals. Okay, so you need to know that the naked mole rat is an exception to an endothermic mammal, so they are actually exothermic. We talked about that in the day one video. You need to know what endothermic actually means, so what's the definition of that? And that's going to be the heat energy produced during cellular respiration. Keeps their bodies at the right temperature, okay? So you need to know that endothermic vertebrates often eat a lot of food, and why would they need a lot of food? You need to know if, so birds have feathers. You need to know they have 2 legs, obviously, but they technically have 4 limbs, and they have 4 limbs because the wings are included in that. So remember, I want you to, there's a bunch of different orders of birds, and I don't want you to know all of them, but you should be able to list at least 3 different orders of birds. And you need to be able to give me an example of a raptor and a flightless bird. You need to be able to tell me the structural support of birds. They are lightweight and strong. You need to know about their bones being hollow. Be sure you know the definition of a keel. You need to be sure you understand the difference between contour feathers and down feathers. And you need to know the difference between the 4 different types of wings, which we discussed. But just know, don't panic about that because I will give a really good description and an example within the question. So, for example, I would say, this bird has slightly slotted feathers with its wings that are good for soaring and diving. An example would be an eagle. You would have to tell me it's a passive soaring wing. So be sure that you know and are familiar with all 4 wing types. You need to know that birds don't have teeth and they swallow their food whole most of the time. You need to know why birds have to eat a lot. You need to know the senses that birds have that are very good, so eyesight, hearing, and then the senses that they have that are not so good, so smell or taste. You got to be able to give me an example of birds that mate for life. And just talking about, you're not going to need to know like the maximum fine or anything like that. Like you don't need to know numbers. But if I were to ask you, what animal does our country that we discussed have a maximum fine of $5,000 and a year imprisonment for accidentally or purposely killing, you would need to be able to tell me what bird the United States conserves. All right, for mammals, you need to know that they have 2 layers of fur that protect and insulate. You need to know that they have hair and blubber for insulation. You need to be able to tell me how mammals, a lot of mammals, release heat. There's 2 different ways that we talked about. The first was panting, and the second was through their ears. And remember that they have relatively large brains. You need to be able to tell me, like, if I were to ask for 3 examples of mammals, you would need to be able to tell me. Or in a list, which of the following is not a mammal, you would need to be able to tell me. Okay, most have good hearing and smell. Remember, I want you guys to know about their eye placement. So the little trick that I gave you, eyes in front, go to hunt, eyes on side, run and hide. You need to know what kind of skeleton they have. You need to remember that they have mammary glands and that they are viviparous. But there is one group of mammals that is not viviparous, and you need to be able to know that. So that's monotremes, and you got to give me examples to those. We talked about 2 in particular. And there's 3 different types of mammals that we discussed. So we have placentals, and you need to know the difference between these. Placentals, marsupials, and monotremes. So if I were to ask you, like, this mammal has a short gestation period, which that means pregnancy. Short gestation period, and the young journeys from the mother's pouch to continue development, you need to be able to tell me, is that a placental, marsupial, or monotreme? And be able to do that with all 3 of those sections. All right, you need to know what the benefit is of hunting. And I sent you guys a video about the wolves being able to change the nature of the river in Yellowstone National Park. The main thing that I want you to know about that is just the fact that one single species, especially a mammal like that, can influence the entire ecosystem. So be sure you check out that video, though, because it is absolutely mind-blowing. All right, and the last part of this test is going to be on the animals that you guys suggested to me. So some of your animals I didn't include because we had already gone over them, and they were actually invertebrates. Like, so I know an octopus was one, I think a jellyfish was another one, and we've already talked about all those. So I did all of the mammals that you guys sent me. So you need to know about elephants. Somebody asked if you needed to know the stuff in the white box. If I mentioned it during the lecture videos, you should know it in the white box. But don't worry about scientific names. You need to know the difference between African and Asian elephants, how we could tell the difference between them. There's a couple of different ways. Let's see. You need to know about manatees, what the mom does when when her baby manatee is first born. Be sure that you know that. Kiwis, remember they cannot fly, and they are found in New Zealand. And they are the only bird in the world with what at the end of their beaks? So be sure that you go back into your notes and look at that. So it's different because most birds don't have a good sense of smell. And remember that kiwis have a good sense of smell. All right, the platypus. Remember, the platypus is one of the monotremes that we talked about. You need to know how many eggs they can lay and how long they incubate those eggs for. Remember, monotremes, that's one of the difference between placentals, marsupials, and monotremes is they have a very, very short gestation period. So their eggs do not need to cook very long, so to speak. All right, and the last one that you need to know are cheetahs. You need to know that they are adorable. But you need to know how fast they are able to run. So 0 to 60 in only 3 seconds. But you need to know what that costs them. So remember we discussed that just because you can run that fast, it comes with a cost. So remember what it costs them in the long run. Because they're running, but really it's a short run because it's in short bursts. Okay, all right. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please do not hesitate to ask me. Best way to contact me, the quickest way to contact me, I should say, is via phone. You can call me or you can text me. Just be sure if you do call or text, if I don't already have your number saved in my phone, be sure to let me know who you are because I don't just pick up numbers if I don't recognize them. So be sure that you send me a text letting me know that you tried calling. And you can also email me at deanna.brigman@cathedralemail.com, or you can message me on LMS. If you have any questions whatsoever, please, please, please let me know. Otherwise, just be sure that you're studying your notes, and I will see you guys on Wednesday, May 13th at 11 a.m. All right, guys, love you so much.